Honey, are you all right? Can you point to where it hurts? I'm gonna help you.
She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't rich. Just a waitress standing behind a tray of coffee cups. But when everyone else laughed off the billionaire's son's strange behavior, she looked closer, and what she saw in that moment saved his life. The restaurant glittered with chandeliers and quiet luxury. Crystal glasses clinked, laughter floated, and the smell of truffle oil and seared steak filled the air. For most people, it was just another night in the city's most expensive dining hall, but for Ava Coleman, it was another 12-hour shift in heels that pinched her toes. She balanced plates with a practiced grace, weaving between tables filled with people who didn't know her name. She smiled when they did. Not that she thanked them when they ignored her, but Nia had something that money couldn't. By she noticed things. It started with table 7 that night. A family sat there, well-dressed, confident, untouchable. The father was a billionaire tech investor, surrounded by business partners. But his teenage son, maybe 17, sat slumped at the end of the table, poking at his food without interest. When Nia approached, the father barely glanced up. "Just water for him," he said, waving dismissively. The boy nodded weakly. His face was pale, sweat glistening above his lip despite the cool air. Nia noticed. She'd seen exhaustion before. But this was different. His breathing was shallow. His fingers trembled when he tried to lift his glass. And when he blinked, it was slow, like each moment took effort. She smiled softly. "Are you okay, sir?" He looked up, trying to speak. His lips moved, but the words didn't come out right. They slurred, almost melting together. Nia's heart tightened. Something was wrong. Most people didn't know that before Nia carried trays. She carried something heavier, a medical textbook. She had been a nursing student once. Years ago, before life pulled her dreams apart, her mother fell sick. The bills piled up. She left school to work full-time, but the training never left her. She still remembered the signs, the symptoms that could look like nothing to anyone else in right now. She was seeing them again, the boy's slurred speech, his pale face, his shaking hand. Her mind raced through the possibilities. Low blood sugar? Seizure? Stroke? But he was so young. Still, she trusted her gut. Asterisk. "Excuse me," she said gently to the father. "I think your son might not be feeling well. He looks a little unsteady." "Maybe," the man interrupted with a cold laugh. "He's fine. He's just tired. We've had a long flight." His business partner chuckled. "Teenagers, right? Always tired." The table laughed. Nia didn't. She could feel something building inside. Her an urgency she couldn't ignore. She seen this before, during her nursing rotations, a condition that moved fast if not caught in time. "Sir," she said again. "Firmer now, please. I really think he needs to sit down properly." Or maybe the father cut her off. "Do your job, miss. Just bring the drinks." The laughter returned. But something in Nia's chest burned hotter. She turned to leave, her hands trembling. But just as she reached the kitchen door, she heard it. A sound. A soft, sudden thud. The billionaire's son had collapsed face first onto the table. Chairs screeched back. Someone screamed. The father jumped up, shouting his son's name, but Nia was already running. She dropped her tray, knelt beside the boy, and pressed her fingers to his neck. His pulse was weak, his skin clammy, his breathing uneven. "Call an ambulance." She shouted. The father froze, helpless, fear cracking through his arrogance. Nia's voice stayed calm. "Now?" She tilted the boy's head back, checking his airway. His lips had turned slightly blue. Her instincts took over. "Sir, he's going into hypoglycemic shock," she said quickly. "Do you have insulin or glucose tablets with you?" The father blinked. He's diabetic, but he took his medication this morning, then he's crashing." Nia snapped, her voice strong but steady. "I need sugar now." A waiter rushed over with a can of soda. Nia tore it open, carefully tilting a small amount into the boy's mouth. She rubbed his throat gently to help him swallow. "Come on, sweetheart," she whispered. "Stay with me." The boy's eyelids fluttered. Then slowly his breathing deepened. Minutes later, paramedics stormed in. By then, the boy was conscious, weak but breathing. Nia explained everything, her voice calm and precise. The medical team confirmed her suspicion. His blood sugar had dropped dangerously low. And if she hadn't intervened when she did, he could have fallen into a coma or worse. The father stood there in stunned silence, watching as his son was lifted onto a stretcher. When he finally spoke, his voice broke. "You saved his life." Nia exhaled, exhaustion washing over her. "I just did what anyone would have done, but everyone in that restaurant knew the truth no one else had." The morning after, the restaurant buzzed with the story. Staff whispered about the waitress who'd saved a billionaire's son. Customers murmured her name like she was a legend, but Nia didn't care for fame. She clocked in, tied her apron, and went back to work. That afternoon, a man in a gray suit walked in. He asked for her by name. When she approached, he smiled. "Miss Coleman, Mr. Harrell would like to see you." Nia frowned. "Mr. Harrell?" "The boy's father," he said. "He's waiting outside." A black car idled at the curb, windows tinted. The driver opened the door, and out stepped the billionaire himself. But this time, there was no arrogance, no superiority, just a man humbled by reality. He extended his hand. "Miss Coleman, I owe you more than I can say." Nia shook it gently. "I'm just glad your son's okay." He nodded. "He's home now. The doctor said you saved him with seconds to spare." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then he reached into his pocket and handed her an envelope. Nia hesitated. "What's this?" He smiled faintly. "A thank you." And something else. Inside was not just money, but an acceptance letter from the very nursing school she'd left. Years ago. Her name was printed at the top. Fully paid. Tears welled in her eyes. "How did you?" "My son told me everything," the man said softly. "He said you looked at him like a person, not like a problem. The world needs more people like that." He took a breath. "I made a call. You'll be able to finish what you started." Nia couldn't speak. She just stood there, the envelope trembling in her hands. The billionaire smiled faintly. "My son would like to thank you himself when he's better." She nodded, still overwhelmed. "Tell him he doesn't owe me anything. He just has to live." Months later, Nia walked across a hospital floor, not as a waitress, but as a nurse in training. Her badge gleamed against her uniform. When she passed by the pediatric ward, a familiar voice called her name. It was the billionaire's son, sitting up in bed, smiling. "Hey," he said. "I'm better now." "My dad says you're going to be a real nurse soon." She smiled. "I guess so." He grinned. "You already are." Nia's story reminds us that greatness isn't about wealth. It's about awareness. The ability to see what others ignore. To act when everyone else hesitates. Sometimes the hero isn't wearing a cape, just an apron. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still saves lives. Comment where you're watching from. And tell us what's one small act of humanity that restored your faith in people. Subscribe for more cinematic stories that celebrate silent heroes, the ones who change the world without asking for applause.